said, oh no, I guess I thought I did. It's like, come on, dude.
Oh, man.
He got out of that one. Slick, didn't he?
Oh, but you didn't give him a ride to perform his fitness.
I know, I had my book club this morning.
Well, then who the hell gave him a ride?
That is not my
He
problem.
blamed you.
I'll take credit for it, I guess.
Oh my God.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
what I have to live through. Thank you.
Thank you.
I questioned the $44 registration fee,
For,
the boat. There's a $44 registration fee for a boat.
we're not paying that, that's somebody that paid Linda. That's what is
Oh,
owed to the state.
I know, but still.
Oh, did you pay it to the state?
No.
Oh,
Oh, the fire department paid it to, Linda to pay to the state to register the boat.
oh, I didn't, okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't putting all of that together.
$41.
yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay. 5 o'clock.
No, one of them is still living in Connecticut. The other one is working elsewhere. And these are the votes to appoint them so that they can go into the police academy. Next police academy doesn't start till May, so it'll be about this time next year that they'll actually be out.
You might remember that conversation from the chief's presentation, yes.
Oh, is it? Look at
It's
that.
5 o'clock.
I'm sleeping over here.
Oh, boy.
Waiting for the crowd.
Waiting for the town to show up, right?
All right, welcome to the Peterborough Select Board meeting for January 21st, 2025. Tyler Ward, with me are Select Board members Bill Kennedy, Bill Taylor, and we have Town Administrator Nicole McStay here, and Town Planner Danica Malone. And we are on air. In case you're wondering, if you're watching us on air, you're actually seeing us live.
Yeah, they would know.
Yeah, and Tim Bresnick is taking care of all that behind the scenes. So tonight's agenda will vote to request, or there's a request to expend some funds from the West Peterborough District Expendable Trust Fund, and then a couple of police officers to appoint, and then minutes to approve. And then at 5:30, join us back here for a joint budget committee meeting where I'll hand the meeting over to Rick Lesser, Chair of the Budget Committee, who is also at the table right now. Any questions from the audience so far? All right. Lily, will you be explaining what we're expending?
I'd be happy to. Do you mind throwing, is it something you could throw on the?
Well, we
can.
read it, but
I just don't have a copy with me.
Oh, you know,
There you
I
go.
meant,
The next page.
There you go.
Perfect.
yeah. Nice. Got it like
There
that.
you go.
Because when you turn your phone, it continues to.
Turn it,
Exactly.
they'll lay it on the table and then rotate it.
Seth and I worked to update the figures for the maintenance of all items that have been improved in the West Peterborough TIF. We have been charging the West Peterborough TIF for the regular maintenance of their roads, lighting, and parks that have been improved through the TIF process in the last 24 years. So these are figures that come in as general fund revenue to the community. There's no direct invoices that go with this. This is based off of how large the acreage of parks are compared to the rest of the town, and the percentage of streetlights within that section of town, as well as the 5.25 lane miles as compared to the rest of the community. So we ask that this be reimbursed to the town as general fund revenue for this maintenance.
how do we come up with a 70% figure?
5.25 divided by the 80-plus miles of roadway is 7%.
Oh, so it's only that portion which is in the West Peterborough.
Correct. Exactly. Mhm.
Gotcha. So that makes sense.
I'd make a motion that we approve that $162,930.
Second.
All those in favor?
I agree.
Aye. Great. All right. Thank you, Lily.
You're welcome.
Makes sense.
Next up on the agenda, Chief Kennard was here at our last Budget Committee meeting presenting his budget and was happy to inform us that he's finally got a full staff over at the police department, many, many years in the waiting. And so I would like to make a motion to appoint Douglas McPherson and Andrew Lindberg as our newest police officers.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion from anybody? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. All right. Now, the big deal here. We have lots of minutes to approve. November 16th, December 17th, and the select board's portion of January 7th and 14th of the combination meetings with the budget committee. I think a motion to approve those
Well, I have a couple things to change.
with your edits. And then your edits.
So I'll second that
Tell us.
motion.
Oh, great.
And we'll vote on it in a moment. The 11:19 minutes.
11:16?
Oh, I had 11:19. Anyway,
Your minutes are.
my minutes are all wrong. Anyway, under the GD TIF expenditures motion, there's the wording of that, there's not a complete sentence there.
Okay, we can check
You want
that.
to take a
Sorry, the GD tip?
GD TIF?
Got.
Yeah, that's one. I sit on their advisory, I use the term often. And then on the 12/17, no. Boy, January 14th, anyway. It's David Baum, B-A-U-M, not Baum.
Got it.
Oh, yeah, good catch.
Yeah,
It didn't-
There's
I thought
several
it was somebody
instances,
else.
so it's just a matter of
Got it,
who to
perfect.
replace. Those are the only nits I found.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And at this point, we will take a recess until 5:30 when the rest of the joint committee comes.
Can I just make a quick point on other business? When I was reading your minutes, I noticed the whole discussion about the co-op moving into town potentially. And I have a friend that's on the board actually, and I hear that they're very serious, and they're actually looking at the EMS old site as a possibility right now, so just for information.
On road then,
Yeah.
Yeah. It would, yeah, it would be unfortunate. They would surely put some of our cherished local businesses out of business. And I hope
Certainly still a lot of pressure.
hope they're considering that when they make their decision. All right. Recessed? Now what do we do?
You said recess, but it's a little cold out.
Plain doors.
We haven't had the
Can speed
gym
walk.
set down the upstairs.
We'll go look, see if there's any more car stuff out front.
Take a walk down the post meeting.
So how was your ski trip? You got some nice snow up there?
Just a dusting, but it was wicked cold, but the kids had great fun. Gene took off with them yesterday. He skied most of the day. He snowboards,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Good boy from Florida. First time he ever snowboarded was after he married Eva.
As soon as you do fill up.
I didn't join them. I just kind of hung around town. There's not much going on to Stowe on a holiday. We stayed at the Stowe Flake Hotel.
Sounds cute.
However, did they come up with that?
Sunday, the place was just hopping. The whole, I mean, we spent 30 minutes getting back from the mountain to the hotel. Wow, it should be only like 15. It was just traffic after traffic. The place was just covered. And the hotel was full on Sunday. Yesterday, Monday, there were 6 cars in the parking lot. 120 room Hotel. I don't know how to stay in business, but it's a convention destination and wedding.
So you want to go over to the Von Trapp's?
I've been there. We went by the ice cream place too, Ben and Jerry's.
There is one more other thing, just general town announcement stuff. The EDA was instrumental in pulling off
They're not
ribbon
meeting.
cutting for the
We're in
new
recess.
makerspace
That's what it's meaning, yeah.
grand reopening in the new location in Post Farm, from Post Farm over to Noon Falls Mill, and if anybody's watching. And had some great things to say, so thank you guys for doing that. For 5 hours straight, that place was mobbed. Like the parking lot was full. There were people parking on 202. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I think we managed to get like 40 people signing up for memberships that
Wow.
year, which was pretty fun. So it's up and running now, and just want to let everybody know. It's pretty excited to be. Oh, and then one thing I heard, Steve Walker, who's generating electricity with the hydropower there, actually turned off the hydro so that the waterfall would be flowing nice for the event.
Oh.
And we thought, oh wow, you really wield some power now. We can make, we asked them to warm it up and get the sun.
Right, yes.
But he couldn't help us.
Now, what was the impetus for that move?
Well, Steve was fitting up, renovating New Falls, and he'd been involved early with the makerspace and so really supporting us for many years. And our lease was up just December, and we decided we got to get out of there. With absentee landlord, the roof leak. It wasn't optimal. It was kind of a rabbit warren, all cut up.
Right.
And so this new space is really more cohesive. Just
And newly renovated too.
newly renovated, like proper heating ventilation, and just a wonderful space.
Yeah.
I think Steve is also giving you a reasonable rental rate too.
He's being very kind, very fair with the rent. It's a
Be able to do
long-term
something.
rent, at least, yeah.
He's quite an asset to this town.
Really.
My,
I think he's done an incredible job on that building. And got the hydro up and going, getting the hydropower, so that's pretty cool.
You can see it cranking in there.
Yeah. That's neat. Excellent.
Maybe in a few years, he should be up for Peterson Award. He's been on committees, he was on the community power committee. He's been a long-term member, although it is an official committee of the town, a long-term.
We've only got a couple months left of Clinton's
It's very active in
second
that.
term.
Impressive guy.
Yeah.
I went by a few times, I was gonna go in, it's packed.
Yeah, a few
There's
people
no
said
place to
they
park.
Yeah, I've really heard that a few times, which is too bad,
Because it
but
was not at
it's open every day.
You applied for college and that sort of thing, but she got an opportunity to go to university. So she says, I don't know if I like that.
I know that you run the
Oh.
repair cafe. Do you have a particular specialty that you woodworking?
I do not. And actually, I haven't participated in a little while because it's, I
You can
found
only
that
do PC for
I'm
so
not,
long.
I'm not a fast person. There are people that go to that that can really like be and a lot of the items are.
Though Fosh asked me about 14 times.
Well, I want to actually
I was like, I don't think I've ever done
donate a
Fosh.
bunch to electronics.
Oh, yeah, definitely, if you want to come by and have the next one, which is the second Saturday.
Slide together.
A
of the
slide.
month. Yeah, I'm talking
That's what I
about
do.
maybe David, or just see David, David's program manager,
Yes.
Englishman,
Yeah,
glasses,
Yeah, yeah.
he's great. Yeah, he'll tell you what things.
Well, I've got a bunch of electronics sitting in the basement that I probably will never want you again. I used to use the Dublin School makerspace to do a lot of my work. That's no longer available, so I'm thinking, anyway.
Great. Roy's usually there most days for the business hours, and then
Better-
if
you
you
better
have a
make sure
membership,
you
it's
deliver
24
in
hours.
person. I just don't need it.
He'll do it.
You need to know somebody to get somebody home.
I didn't get over to the Beach Smart Plus. You did, you were there all day.
Yeah, it was.
How did
They
that
did
go?
great. I came late. They got it set up on their own, and I just said I'll be downstairs if you need hands on deck. They had probably close to 100 people going in and out. Yeah. So any given time, I'd go upstairs to check every single table of contractors. Someone was talking to people. Yeah. The people that you're all just sitting around twiddling thumbs.
That's not Dory.
No,
Yeah, no, that's not Dory.
Truly.
Who is it?
her
That's
name
Helen.
is Helen Fairman.
We approved her last week,
Oh,
or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
all sorts of crazy
When
things.
she first moved to town, I don't remember how long ago it was, but she wasn't actually living full-time here. But for years, I had been plowing the driveway for the woman that owned the house before, so she called, and then it ended up being, some other projects and stuff like that. It was the first time that I ever saw anybody remotely unlock a door. She's like, yeah, can you check on something in the house? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went over, I'm like, is there a key under the mat or something? She's like, oh, are you there? I'm like, yeah. She's like, hang on 1 second. And the door unlocked. I was like, whoa. Whoa.
Nicole, you mentioned that there's, Lily had made some more changes to the budget from last week.
No, well, what I emailed out is the current, I sent it.
Do you need copies?
Well, I have it electronic, I was just curious, if they're just here, there, or there's a bunch of things that are different. from
It's the
January 14th.
salary and benefit lines for the administration and IT. They just made job offers to fill empty position, vacant positions. And I adjusted the health insurance corresponding to what their selections were, and dental insurance. The other item that I changed the week before is the revenue budget for the finance, in the finance section, interest has been increased by $60,000. I did another renegotiation with the bank last week, which resulted in all of our deposits being subject to the going interest rate, which would be an additional $2 million in deposits being generating interest, which is $60,000 at the 3% rate right now. Anything we can do? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was all made a mistake.
So if it's all eligible, get on the board up here, then decide and see what it looks like if I didn't shave for a week. Not sure if I can do it.
Well, you get to that stage where it gets really itchy.
Well, you trim that thing. I've never grown a beard ever.
And you're charging me a fee?
For the longest time, like a cat really could just like let him down on my face. I never bothered with it.
So I contacted them, like, this makes sense when the interest rate is 0.1, but this does not, this does not. This is not acceptable.
Now that it's all great.
It's, we have to stay on top of it. Otherwise, it's just.
Good.
I found this a long time ago, it was nothing to do with us, but I just thought we might, you can keep it. But this is a program that we use in Vermont.
Oh,
And
Interesting.
for housing. I just thought, it's a likely long,
I like to see
it's older.
a lot.
But I just thought you'd like to see the format, the
very
structure of it, and see what it is.
Yeah.
Because they do mention some
Ton
kind
of
of
it.
programs.
Oh, then that's really.
Oh, interesting.
So
Thank you for sharing.
it was
that.
nice to
No, I
meet
just
him
happened to,
outside.
as I said,
sort
come
of.
across it.
Oh, I always appreciate that.
Yeah.
I certainly learned from neighbors.
He's a tough nut to crack, but once
Yeah.
you get him talking.
Right, right.
Interest rate
Completely
is
different. I don't know how to.
segregation for IRS. So that's an its own special
I see.
with the other
Is there a new house plan in there? You know,
There is.
I know about the development,
Yep,
but
yep,
that's not it. This is right on High Street.
yep, yep. Do you know where the Derbys live?
Across the street, like, there's an apartment house there.
Yep, and then the next house
is a
down.
farm, like a farmhouse.
Yep, so that property, I believe, is something like 3.5 acres.
Yeah, yeah.
They just went through a subdivision process to allow for the sale of the other half of that property that's undeveloped.
That's what I thought.
So, two folks who actually are local can build a single family home there, and I guess their son works at the elementary school, and he has a disability. So they're looking to build a detached ADU for him on the property. Yeah, so they,
I heard about it, but I didn't see the announcement. I didn't see the notice. I guess there was
there was, geez, when was that? Last Monday. It went through the planning board.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
There was a young couple surveying their land, or marking it out one time at one.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because the field has a stone wall in front, but it was, you can drive through it pretty much.
Yeah,
So I didn't
yeah.
know what was going on. It was
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
I guess things have been in process.
That's,
It takes a long time, and those surveyors are so busy right now. Yeah.
I don't know if they even did that officially. They probably unofficially did just what they would like to position the house.
They were happy to complain as a window with their kids.
Yep, that's the next step, because they'll have to figure out where their well's going if they're not going to be on public water, sewer, and all the time.
I was like, are you kidding me? I tried to.
My last name.
I knew it, but I just hadn't thought
Nice
of
to
it.
hear.
It's okay, it's changing again in
Well,
a
that's
few months.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? What are you gonna turn it into?
Miller.
going on up at my road that they.
Not too big of a change, yeah.
No abbreviation changes?
No.
That's funny.
Well, last week.
Still the noun.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Carl, those duck boots don't fit. They look like slippers.
Why I wear them?
When I first heard.
I have two things, but we got a new arrangement here.
No, I was like,
These are really easy.
Yeah.
I shut it off.
They were like cars.
This is like,
Flip this out.
Flip it around? Keep them out. You're gonna
just do that.
Well, I don't know why it's like that.
That way you're those things. I can't remember. I know what you mean.
Basic.
They look Crocs.
Crocs, there you go.
Yes.
I don't do that.
Rich. Oh, Jack.
There's need for another chair, right?
Pounding in islands. I mean, I could hear that at my house.
I didn't realize a brick house could shake. And it didn't fall.
Do we have assigned seating now? You do.
Yeah.
You have assigned beers.
Assigned seating.
Carl's not shaking.
4 years from now?
Yes, that's the one.
You have a hat to match that jacket?
I do. I didn't wear it tonight because it wasn't cold enough. It's got the flaps and everything.
How do you tell?
It's not cold
You don't think
enough?
it's cold enough
It's
right
cold.
now?
You have an Elmer
It is
Fudd
cold.
hat? You didn't wear it tonight.
It's an Elmer Fudd hat, no. I also have matching pajamas. Including the
Well, I suppose we appreciate that you didn't wear those.
You want to see?
All you need now is a shotgun over your shoulder. A vote on it.
Is this being televised?
Yeah.
Our recess is.
Muted. Moment.
Give me your little strip.
Recess.
That'll bring in the crowd.
Yeah.
So all that information about the major cities are.
All three people. Yeah, been trained to learn that because it used to be on there. I always stayed on there. I can see that. I can see it. Tyler, I heard during the previous session you mentioned that there were 40 new members at the makerspace.
I think that's what he signed up on
You know-
Saturday.
How many were already signed up? What percent is that?
Oh, I can't
It
remember.
sounds like a large number.
Yeah, You mean how many members total?
The day before.
I think it was over 200. Yeah, already. Yeah,
20%.
Wow. That's great.
And he
It's
uses
a great turnout.
It's so successful.
maybe second tier.
Are they a nonprofit? Are they considered a nonprofit?
We are, yeah. Always looking for donations.
So they fly Sundays and Thursdays, so now he's here until Thursday.
Who's first today?
That's okay, because we had to go snowshoeing until yesterday.
No clerk.
Actually, they opened.
Because my, we got our act together. So my term will be up.
These are the ones that
he was gonna turn that job.
Yeah, so we're gonna go out.
Yeah, I think a 1 year break. Yeah,
But yeah, my son,
Just keep things fresh. And 3-year terms, and you can actually do
But
up
he
to
could
6
work.
years consecutive. She's sticking around till September. James Kelly and Kowski and I are leaving.
This is very good. They blanks out a lot.
But we've added.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be at
4
commission.
this last month.
Nicole?
It could be just 20 days.
Stand here. Somehow it has to go through.
Now that all the
And a week
work stuff.
later, it's the other round. Yeah. So you can't.
How instrumental has changed.
I'm thinking I can walk with that.
We'll make no
For like a month.
He was very.
She tries to watch it.
James has been
They're so frustrated.
one of the biggest champions since our beginning.
So it was that amazing conversation that kind of all started.
Administration and finance, right?
And then I'll be able to see.
Well, we don't know who's first, but we think Danica might get two. Miscellaneous budgets.
Now it's- My right eye is like.
Heritage Commission.
Might not have been all the-
It's all under Nicole.
They said they don't do.
Al. It's all under Nicole's section. So if you start on page 1, the miscellaneous budgets,
Okay. Oh, I got it, I see.
okay?
Okay, so it's right on page, I got it. Thank you.
At the same time. I can understand that.
Well, it's-
Conversations first.
Usually they said two.
It's snowing. There's some good
Almost
chef.
My
My daughter has the
Louisiana?
authority to shut
No,
her
I
office.
can't do that.
It's just
So I'm raising both eyes.
She's probably the only one that isn't gonna do it.
Yeah, so
no,
I
the school
still
systems
have
actually,
bifocals because distance vision.
Yeah, all the way down to Texas, all along the coast there. Great.
Because it's not perfect.
No, it's your set point, you know.
Really?
So you down on the charts?
Says it's kind of something. We drove up, dropped the car off at this, those parking rides. The stove. And then,
Effective yesterday.
On any given day, it's still waiting. And when you get off the boat,
if it was on the other side of Harvard,
yeah, right, depending on when you go.
well, it's unfortunate. I can do it.
I think it's the salary. Can't, big time can't.
I don't see them. Used to go right to it.
I used to fly.
There's cardio, there's a couple different, there's a couple of.
I mean, just
Weight
mark
rooms for
that.
free weights. Upstairs there's one that's got the smaller weights. And then there's another whole line.
You could be a plan B or plan C.
That's machines. There's,
I think it would be that.
we did so much traveling.
That's right.
Right, chief.
That's the only problem. They don't spend it around.
That doesn't matter.
And I got all the nice flights, all the nice
Yes, not
flights.
that far. Yes. And it's hard, you know, you say in the city.
Yes, what happens at work is limited.
Grocery cart.
Just, there's nothing.
Good, welcome back, everybody. It's 5:30 already. Boy. Could have had a nap.
Time flies.
Yeah. All right, at this point, I will hand the meeting over to Rick Lesser, Chair of the Budget Committee, for introductions.
Thank you, Tyler. So our group tonight includes Dave Odlin, Tony Pascal up there, Al Lenos to my extreme right, Mary Clark, Dick Reynolds, Carl Nezzino, Leslie Lewis not with us tonight, she told me, and I haven't heard from Don, but Don's been running a little bit late, so hopefully he'll show up at some point. But I think other than that, we have enough to get started. I think first order of business, we want to approve minutes. And I don't know if our group hopefully has had a chance to look at the extensive, very comprehensive minutes that Danica did. Danica, great job as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was
On the
excellent.
back for yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks of the 7th and the 14th. Any additions or comments or edits that anybody wants to present? Somebody like to make a motion to approve those minutes then? Dick?
Second.
Al?
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thanks again, Danica. And with that, we'll start reviewing budgets. It looks like Danica's first in line tonight.
Yeah.
Well, this would be difficult.
Yeah, so I have, I'm gonna take the Chief Gennard approach and just go over the significant changes, but if there's questions along the way, stop me. If you have your spreadsheets in front of you, I usually just go in order as they're shown. So the first one is one of those miscellaneous budgets. It's titled Heritage Commission. I'm gonna skip right over that because there's no changes to that. We usually keep a small budget for them if they do special projects. We have a minor increase to our administration budget that's attributed to merit and COLA, and the small increase is related to retirement and retirement and payroll taxes. Planning, building operations, we've gone down just a little bit, but otherwise mainly have stayed the same. If we go down to economic development, that's another miscellaneous budget. That's for our Economic Development Authority, our EDA committee. The EDA has several subcommittees. Those include the 3 TIFs, well, 2 going forward because the West Peterborough TIF is sunset this past year, the Housing Committee and the Welcome Team. The biggest change to this budget is the reduction, well, really the removal of our social media services related to Drum. In years past, we were budgeting over $17,000 for that work. In the past year, the EDA decided that they no longer wanted to work with them on social media work. They thought maybe it'd be something that the Affordable Housing Committee could use. The Affordable Housing Committee is not interested in working with them on that at this time. They have quite a bit of other projects that they're focused on. So that is the biggest change to the budget, is their removal of Drum. Facebook and Instagram will remain up, and we'll use it in-house to promote certain events as needed. So for instance, if we're doing a ribbon cutting, or Affordable Housing Committee is doing a viewing of one of their workforce housing movies, we might post on there. So it's not going away altogether, it's just not gonna be paid to be managed by a social media firm. The last for expenditures is the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission by RSA is required to provide maintenance for a handful of the easements that we hold, which is why that they have quite a bit in here for services. Some of those services include things like mowing, for instance, of their easements, but otherwise there's no changes to that either. Any questions on the expenditure side?
question about dropping the media.
It was a very fast motion suddenly one day.
I wondered why it went silent.
There was a very fast motion by EDA that they decided they weren't interested in continuing with it. They felt that maybe the housing committee was better suited for it, considering their work. The housing committee isn't interested at this time in focusing on social media. They have a handful of other efforts that they're working on and felt it was too much for their volunteers to work with. And considering the expense, we felt it was appropriate to remove it from the budget and ask them to put a special warrant article forward this year if they felt that they needed it. They did not feel they needed it. So then moving on to revenue. The biggest change is, well, one, the removal of West Peterborough TIF for the transfer of $10,000 annually. But the second is that we are anticipating a decrease in building permits for the coming year. It's a little bit like looking into a crystal ball in terms of what we expect for the coming year, but we have seen a bit of a decline in planning board applications for larger developments. Based off of that analysis, we do expect a slight decrease in building permits for the coming year. We know things like the Southfield project is wrapping up. Woodman's has pulled the last of their permits. We don't know of any further expansions at Rivermead or the hospital, for instance, at this time. Those are typically big drivers. So we're budgeting appropriately for a small decrease. That's about it.
So we can lay Tim off.
He's still cranking.
Now he just doesn't have to do 3 times the work he's paid for.
Right, exactly.
This isn't directly related to a line item, but do you have any updates on the IDG property?
No updates at this time. I've not heard of any new development going on. I've been in constant contact with the owner, wrapping up the strings of that grant. I can confirm that Hooters is not going in there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Danica. Linda, you ready?
Yep.
I think you're next.
Are you putting anything up?
You didn't, do you have a presentation?
No, but I normally put up like the spreadsheet.
I can put it up if you want to refer to it, sure.
Sure. Okay. The biggest changes this year, aside from the fact that we dropped a few elections and we've only got one that we pay for here at the town, there's been a bill that was passed and made into law that the accessible voting machine has to be at every election, including town and school. And that's not just having the tent there. You have to have the system that they can use, the computer system. So, and that's going to cost anywhere between $3,000 and $7,000 per election, depending on like a town election. If there's a lot of zoning questions or articles, it could get very expensive because it has to be coded just like everything else has to be coded. We're hoping that it'll get, somebody will put forward something to get rid of that so that, because I'm sure that, Peterborough's a decent-sized town, and we don't really have anyone that comes in and uses it. For regular elections, I will go and ask people to come in and try it because it's very easy to use, and that way, at least it's getting some use. But, so that's the biggest change in my cost, my expenditures for this year.
Could you tell us what line is that?
I'm not even sure where it is. It's probably, part of it is probably under computer services, election admin, but there's also probably under town clerk. I'm not sure where it got put.
It would have to be all in elections.
Okay, so it should be in elections. But that's showing 2,500 there, and then Those are, don't think those are the same numbers I gave you.
So Linda, are you saying that it's not being used?
The accessible voting machine, there's usually one or two people that use it, and they don't vote in every election. They only come for the big ones.
Okay.
So,
I use it. Yeah, she made me.
So
Well,
you're speaking of a laptop that's secure, is that what this machine is?
it's a tablet, and you can go in, you can listen to it, and just do it. There's different ways of doing it, so if you couldn't see, or if you couldn't hear, but
So the requirement is to have just one of such machines?
we'd have to have one that we'd end up purchasing, and that there, right now, the state's gonna let us use the one that they have for this year, but that's only good through May. And then we're gonna have to figure something else out. And, but they're gonna have to be coded every election. So like when we have the school election in March, and then we have a town election in May, we don't have a lot of wiggle room there to get that tablet back out to them so they can get it coded. Same thing with when we do the card for the for the AccuVote.
Is this an optional?
No,
I didn't think so.
It's a law.
State mandates it, but then forces you to pay for it.
Our, excuse me, our IT can't code it.
no,
Why not?
they don't have the capabilities to do that.
So do we understand that it's in this budget currently or not?
It's supposed to
I'm not sure where it
be,
is.
How much is it?
the coding all by itself is somewhere around 3,000 for the town election, as long as it's not a big ballot.
Could it be that because we don't have federal elections in there this year, it balanced out?
Possibly,
You're saying it's $3,000 per election?
yeah.
To
And so
code that?
the school will pay for their own stuff, but the town one remains, it's really hard to guesstimate because you don't know how big the ballot's gonna be. Until you have that knowledge, then you really can't decide how much it's gonna cost.
Can I ask a question? The school, when you support their elections, you charge them and it's town revenue. It's not an offset to your budget. So should you be budgeting for the school meeting and the town meeting?
Say that again? We charge them back what the election
And
costs
it's
us.
revenue, it's in your revenue line.
But you still.
Well, that would be part of that.
So if it's
School.
$3,000, should you be budgeting $6,000 in computer services for the town meeting and the school meeting, is my question.
Probably.
And then you're
I
anticipating?
never think of it as revenue because it's not, I mean, we spend the money and we just get it back. It's reimbursed.
It's the last revenue line on page 1, under town clerk. revenue.
Yeah. $2,700. So it shows up as revenue.
So that should be $5,700 then? If the $3,000 coding cost is accurate?
Well, but like I said, we don't know what the coding cost is gonna be, because we don't know how big their ballot will be.
So we need to budget it though, right?
We need to budget it, it has to be as close as we can guess.
Well, we can guess 3,000, add 3,000 to it.
So you would see to it getting coded, and then you would get reimbursed by Condon?
Yeah, that's what we do with everything that, same thing, you know, the card for the AccuVote machine, we take care of getting that done because the card belongs to us as the town, not to the school. And then we charge it back to them.
Yeah, well, some number in there, $3,000, sounds,
So are we only dealing with the coding cost this year because we're borrowing from the state for the first year? or is it-
Yeah, that's all we're gonna have to deal with for the first year. But then we have to figure out, and the
So next
state
year's
is going
budget
to
will
help
have the cost
us.
of the machine.
Yeah.
How much is the machine? Are you buying it in,
We're talking about next year.
this is
Next
FY
year.
'26.
Right. But
So are you borrowing
don't-
from the state this spring and not next spring?
we don't know, we have no idea what's going on at this point.
Okay.
The whole thing is, everybody's been flying by the seat of their pants.
Do we have any idea what the cost is if we do have to purchase something like that?
At least 5, probably.
This budget.
But it will be still fiscal 26, for next March, in other words, for the school board election and for the town election, you're gonna have to, potentially have to purchase that at that point.
We discussed. It should be this.
Yeah, it seems we need to budget for it, even though we may not need it because we may have the state take care of the problem. But then we just hand the money back to the select board if we don't use it, and give it to the taxpayers next year. That is, it goes into the fund balance, isn't that right? So it seems we ought to have it in the budget in case we need it, and if we don't need it, we give it back to the taxpayers or however the select board wants to use it. Within the limits placed on them.
Thank you for adding.
I'm sitting here going, hey.
My wheels were turning while all kind of.
Didn't want to make it sound like I was telling you what to do.
So what are we going to accept as the proposed budget for computer services for election administration?
So it sounds
Is
like
it
we
the
have to.
2,500, or are we going to up it to include everything and then be some of it offset by the revenue?
Can I make a recommendation? Since you're not voting to accept the budget tonight, we're just reviewing it.
Okay.
I think it's, let's give Linda an opportunity to review this budget again and figure out, if at best to her ability, what the potential cost might be in FY '26. Understanding that it sounds like it's still very much up in the air at the state level, so.
Good plan.
Great idea.
Very good idea. Did you want to make comment on revenue?
I bring in a lot of money.
Then she hands you right over to the state.
I see it, the numbers are identical from what the revised.
Because it's revenue, it's anything. I can't tell you if everyone's going to buy a new car this year or, so the revenues are going to be pretty flat, I think. You especially think, people are hurting right now, most of them.
But I can't imagine that with the number of new residences that'll be available in town, that these people are gonna have vehicles.
Well, they'll have, but there's new residences, but there are people moving out the same, we're seeing that.
People move, well, no, these are new residences being built.
Well, I know, but
The net increase.
Yeah, I would think there would be, at least on the motor vehicles, the permit fees, there's gonna be a net increase.
Well, let's hope so.
If I may. The revenues are restated for September 1st before setting tax rate. I am the person that reviews all revenues and makes recommendations and works with each department to determine what their adjusted revenue should be. So we will be reviewing all revenues in August in order to make the most appropriate adjustments for what we would be collecting for the next 10 months after that. We'll only have July and August data, but it'll be better than what we know right now.
But the impact is on this budget, which will
It is
already.
this budget that we will be readjusting with the DRA for September 1st. The revenue budget is always restated for September 1st for the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, the town, I believe, does not vote on the revenue
They
side.
do not vote on the
So
revenue.
Yeah, but it has an impact on the overall budget.
But not on what gets voted on.
Yeah.
Well, the net line of the budget.
We don't vote
depends
on, you don't vote on the net,
Oh, you
though.
strictly vote on.
You strictly vote on the gross
expenditures.
operating growth.
Right, but after we've had deliberative session where we explain how much revenue we're going to be getting that's offsetting all of the expenditures.
Anticipated, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't feel it's prudent to make a minor adjustment at this point, though?
I don't think it's prudent to overestimate and give the voters an idea that maybe their tax rate impact is 10 cents less than what we're presenting today. So I think it's good to be conservative on revenue because it is restated. And if we don't come close to achieving that, when we look back at it next August, it has a much deeper impact to how people feel about what they voted for in a negative way.
I think it's also important to, not count on the new housing units coming online exactly on the timeline that we all hope them to. And also keeping in mind that when people move into town, they're not necessarily registering all their cars immediately. There's often a
No, that's true, but I do expect them to come online in fiscal year 26.
Unless they're out of town, or something. Or out of staters, I should say.
Anyway, no.
Right.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions from Ms. Bayette? Okay, thank you, Linda.
Welcome.
Just one
Yes, go
thing.
ahead, Bob.
Supervisor, the checklist printing, be aware, just a small point, but be aware of due to passage HB 1569, all the current forms we use for registration have to be tossed, and we're gonna have to reprint all new ones. So there might be a little bit of a upcharge there.
Another unfunded mandate, huh? Okay, with that, Lily, are you ready to talk about finance?
I am.
Floor is yours.
The finance department is made up by our treasurer and deputy treasurer, myself, and 4 amazing staff members. These are the individuals that work in the finance department. Tanya Rose is our payment and financial accountant. Amanda Davies, our payroll and benefits manager. Elizabeth March is our tax and utilities collector. And Clarissa Johnson is our deputy tax and utilities collector. I just want to be able to say that I am very fortunate to have a very supportive set of treasurers and an incredible staff that really, truly operates as a team. The areas that the finance department touches is everything and everyone. We run all payroll, we pay everybody's bills, we make sure that when we receive the invoices to be paid that have been signed by the superintendents and directors are coming out of the correct accounts, making sure that they hadn't already been paid. All of our payroll is done in-house. There is no services that are utilized outside of this facility. So that is soup to nuts, including the W-2s that everybody just received last week. We have numerous bank accounts for general operating and all of our special groups like Conservation Commission and Bertrand funds, numerous escrow accounts. We have over $38 million in the bank right now between all of those different accounts. We just negotiated with the bank last week, again, I rattle their cage every couple months on any interest that could be turned over to us. The adjustment that they made just last week results in an additional $60,000 expected in interest next year, bringing that number to $720,000 in general fund revenues in the form of interest on our bank accounts held just for general fund purposes. Obviously, you know that I forecast all the budgets. And we have many different grants and projects going on that are pay first and seek reimbursement later, with all kinds of fun requirements on our end that are done as the monies are expended. So that's kind of a short list of the items that are done in our operation.
Excuse me, Lily, can you just go back to the previous slide? With
Yes.
Personnel?
Mhm.
Just curious, are all these people full-time, part-time, full-time?
Our treasurers are not full-time at all. They come in to sign off on the bank reconciliations and sign our weekly payroll and AP checks after they are approved by our select board.
And everybody else is full-time?
Everybody else is full-time. Beth Marsh has been here over 20 years now. Clarissa has been here just over 10. So it's myself, Tanya, and Amanda that are brand new in the grand scheme of decades of service.
And you've been here 4 years now?
3.5 years. My budget starts on page 7. The first section of the budget that I oversee involves all of our insurance products. Although insurance rates went up over 10%, the amount that I am projecting to need for health and dental insurance is less than last year. That is because every year when you look at it, you are budgeting for the known individuals that are covered on the health insurance and what their coverage levels are needed. So this number has been adjusted for the 2 new hires that we hired last week. The insurance products for water sewer employees and ambulance employees are within their budgets. So this is everybody except water, sewer, and ambulance. We maintain ambulance insurance within their budget so that that can also be broken out with the towns that participate, paying for the full service in their shop. The other insurance products for disability, workers' comp, and property liability all went up 9%. They are based off of a pool, but more importantly, our utilization of those products as well. So that budget overall is down 4% or $55,000. The next section
If I could?
is, yes.
Just the insurance and vacation buyout, that's dropped fairly dramatically over the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Just add a little color to that.
That is what we are projecting for who's going to take the health buyout versus be on the town health insurance. And that's based off of who is currently on those products, or that option, I should say. The vacation buyout implicit cost is based off of the amount of money that they are charged for buying a week's vacation. There's an option to purchase 40 hours or more if approved by their director and Nicole. And it is charged at the rate of pay that they are making on July 1. And the town processes all COLAs and merit increases for October 1st every year. So the increase that they receive in their adjusted payment is not sought after for the 40 hours that they have purchased. So there might be an additional $20 that then ends up being a cost to the town. So it's not a big hit for the vacation buyout, it's more of who's on the health insurance buyout. Okay.
Lily,
Yes.
regarding health insurance, do we have a sense of where we stand in terms of the increases because of use? I think you mentioned something like that.
The increases
Relative to
are
other
based
places.
off of the use of the pool We are pooled with multiple municipalities. What is the biggest driver right now in the statewide and, to be quite honest, nationwide pools is the utilization of drugs for weight loss. And because of that, the health insurance companies are actually readjusting and creating new plans that start a year and a half from now to offer communities plans that include those at a very different rate than what we are enjoying right now because of the impacts of the utilization of those products.
So you think that's the main?
I have no idea what the driver is in our community. It is not something that I have asked to look at.
Yeah, no, I meant
primarily
overall.
for HIPAA laws.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to pry into our community, just in general overall, and there's no bargaining power anywhere in the pool.
The only bargaining power we have is to leave and seek coverage from a different provider. Right now, we are using school care. The other big operation in the state of New Hampshire is Health Trust. And those are opportunities that we plan on looking at just to make sure that we are being served appropriately at the costs. And we'll be conducting that research. It's very detailed because you have to provide every single person that is covered by the plan, including spouse and children, ages, along with their, in order to achieve how much this different company would charge us for the same coverage, same order. So we'll be looking at that in the spring, but it is very time consuming.
Thank you.
The next two sections have been zeroed out for a long time. They just sit there because there was monies spent in FY '21 and '22 for human resources. The cost of human resources and that sort of thing has been fully wrapped into the finance operations. The finance operations increase, bottom line, is 3.24%. The only notable thing in here that pleases me is that the cost of the audit has again decreased. They finished a day earlier this year. The tax collector budget is 50% of our tax collectors. The other 50% is 25% charged to water and 25% charged to sewer in the utility billing subsection of their budgets. And that's just their salaries and benefits and cost of materials to print the 4 utility bills that go out every year. The tax overlay is something that is decided upon when we set tax rate. So that is $0 right now, as opposed to the $30,000 that we settled on for tax rate setting this past fall. And then the big hit is our debt service on page 9. It is a $710,000 increase. The reason that it's not $951,000 increase is because the amount of monies that were budgeted for the bridge and GAR parking lot bonds have been placed fully on the Greater Downtown TIF Expendable Trust that was created this past year. It had to be budgeted for in FY '25 because we didn't know if those warrant articles would pass. So that money will go to fund balance at the end of the year, that $210,000, because it will not be spent out of the general operating budget. It was fully charged to the expendable trust for Greater Downtown TIF. And if you're interested to see the bond schedule, Nicole has that available to pull up on the screen. I know you guys like to see what all those items are. The $951,000 addition to our bond payments this year is the new fire station bond.
Could we see that, Nicole?
So last week, Rick had asked what the percentage rate we had for the Cold Stone Springs project. You can see it's 0.81%. Almost $6 million of that project is being paid with grant funds. So it's a $4,047,400 loan. And so we have town water, sewer, and TIF debt. So if Nicole scrolls across, you can start to see things dropping off in FY '31.
Yeah. Go ahead, let's get right to the
It
end.
just keeps
There we
going.
go.
52.
I will be dead.
Hope not.
Well, I'll be 101 years old.
So we could get a printout of this if we wanted. Is that
Of course, of course.
Danica run something over them.
Yeah, nice long sheet, like a scroll.
Does anybody have any questions about the debt, or? It's not optional, so.
Just a comment, my understanding is that the reason I declined so much is because we don't have built in any additional debt, and that we've sort of changed our way of operating, so we don't expect to have additional debt.
Thanks to the hard work of the CIP committee 2 and 3 years ago. And last year.
If that holds true.
Seems like there was some other people involved, but anyways.
Mixed feelings about it.
Thank you, Lily.
You're welcome.
Want to talk quickly about revenues?
Well, I already mentioned the revenue and interest. That's the only revenue I have, $720,000 in
I'm
bank
just curious
interest.
why the water and sewer fund disappeared.
they-
You have to wait till they come in or something?
They're disappearing because they're going to be a complete offset to the cost going forward, as opposed to raising and appropriating in water sewer, raising and appropriating in general fund operating, and then taking it as a general operating revenue. I've cut out the middleman, no revenue, no operating expense. Water sewer is going to raise it in fees, and they're going to pay it directly.
Great, thank you.
The other, yep, that's it.
Good.
Any other questions for Lily?
No, thank you, good job.
Thanks again, Lily.
You're welcome.
Okay, Nicole,
Uh,
do your thing.
I didn't put staff up because I'm the administration staff at this point, along with some portion of Gretchen, who's picking up the assessing clerk duties now as well.
And Seth,
Seth is not part of the administration department.
he's not assistant town administrator?
He is assistant town administrator, but his salary comes entirely out of public works administration and the enterprise funds.
It's his volunteer job.
And a replacement for Ally?
Just hired, so we have a new person who will be starting in a couple of weeks.
You want to share any information on this person?
I just want to wait until she comes on board.
Okay.
This is a full-time person?
Yeah, call me superstitious if you like, I don't want to jinx
Got
anything.
it.
But yes, she'll be a full-time person. She'll be our administrative assistant up at the front desk, so you'll all get a chance to meet her. Lovely, lovely lady. Really looking forward to working with her. And she'll eventually be taking over the human services day-to-day activities for me. So I'm looking forward to that. So the Office of the Select Board and the Town Administrator, just very generally, we oversee the operation of the municipal government. I oversee legal affairs concerning municipal government. We provide general assistance to the public and support for various committees, including yourselves. The Assessing Department maintains the assessing records for all properties in town. They process the credits and exemptions of the related documents and coordinate the work between the contracted assessor's agent, the officials, and the public. And then Human Services Department provides direct aid to residents experiencing financial hardship. I also oversee grants to social service organizations who provide assistance that the town would otherwise be responsible for providing to needy individuals. That's it. That is the full breadth and depth of the PowerPoint that I provided because my budgets are all flat. There has been no increase to the executive administration budget, with the exception of a very small $1,000 or $2,000 increase to staff development. That's largely going towards not just staff, the additional costs of staff development, but also some of the town-wide programs that we've started doing in the last couple of years that have been very popular amongst our staff. Legal fees is flat. Human services, you're seeing a drop off in the salaries portion. That's all rolled into executive administration. So in a couple of years, we won't see that at all in there.
Legal fees are entirely, what's the term for it?
Retainer?
Our retainer, no, 60,000 of it's a retainer, and we carry an additional 15,000 for other costs that are outside of the retainer. So there are certain court filings that are not covered. If a case goes to court, we have to physically pay the attorney to represent us there, or have to pay the attorney to physically represent us there. There's some other, sundry things that'll come up from time to time.
So does this represent all the legal fees for the town government?
Typically, yes. Every once in a while, there'll be a special case where, for instance, let's say the library trustees need their own representation. They'll pay for that out of their own budget. But that's very rare occurrance. On the next page, human service operations, again, generally flat. It is down $475. It's just reflective of how we actually have been using the budget over the last few years. Most of those little costs like printing and whatnot, that's just rolled into the town's, or into the administration budget. Welfare, direct relief, and public assistance, that's that special, those are those other social services, that's flat. The assessing, again, also flat. And patriotic purposes is going up $2,000, just the cost of their supplies has been increasing.
Remind me what patriotic services is again?
So that's Memorial Day and Veterans Day observations, all the costs that go into hiring the band, the marching bands, putting the flags out, that sort of thing. Al?
Yes, what are the trend in welfare or direct relief? What do you see, what are you seeing out there?
Things have pretty stabilized, more or less back to where we were. Actually, I want to say is back to where we were pre-COVID, but really I think it's actually still a little bit down from that. There had been a big shock, a sudden increase after all the federal funds had dried up, because they did so very abruptly here in New Hampshire. The grants just were ended. And so you had a number of households that needed assistance getting into a better situation, but they have for the most part done that. So things are trending pretty quietly. We're still seeing about 80% of the welfare that we give out go to rent, and then 20% goes mostly to electric bills, but to some other expenses as well.
As far as revenues, you're anticipating a little bit of a drop in meals and rooms? Is that just not having enough tourists coming through, or?
That's just based on the actual revenues we received last year. So we're using actual numbers as opposed to the estimate.
I realize that the meals and room tax, businesses pay directly to the state, and it's redistributed to the towns based on population, not on your contribution. So clearly, Peterborough gathers more rooms and meals taxes than, let's say, Hancock, right?
Do you see what it costs in the inn now?
Good point. It's kind of a weird system, but
And it's worth noting that the flood control reimbursement grant is only $34,000.
Why is that of note?
Representative Leishman had doubled it in his comments a few weeks ago, probably unintentionally.
Oh, okay. And just a point of information, under the town administrator revenues, Boston cane,
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
We sell replicas of the Boston Post cane, which have been traditionally given out to the oldest person in the community. A lot of communities have lost their Boston Post cane, so they will purchase a replica from us from time to time. We do, it's in Seth's office right now.
Under walking key?
Door's locked.
Recipients must
So we have a
feel
replica
them.
downstairs.
Any Any other questions for Nicole? In the audience? Okay, thank you, Nicole. I think that maybe brings us to the end of our evening session. So maybe we should adjourn, unless there's any other questions or comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Thank you, Carl. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. Fairly short and sweet.
Yeah. Why should have someone go outside my car?
What did we have?
We're going to start from here?
Oh, I know, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, so I can do a Yep, so, yep, so it's a really interesting tool to work with, so.
Leslie,
Does the recording, I can't pull a suggestion.